They talk about painting the vision.
Yeah.
If you're going to have team members and lead people, you have to be constantly talking about what growth looks like. Hold on.
No, because they knew. So stop blaming yourself as if
I'm not blaming.
You're saying, well, maybe I didn't explain. You just told everybody you didn't explain it maybe well enough to them. You did. Stop making excuses that you didn't do it.
I'm just explaining the leadership path of growth.
Yeah.
To know that you have to talk about it at every moment.
3, 2, 1. Seeking the best, being my best. Do do da 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 da.
Welcome to Seeking the Best. This is the podcast for growth-minded real estate agents seeking clarity, focus, and a better way forward. I'm your host, Kathryn Stelgis, and sitting across from me is my co-host, Patrick Fatika. He's our sound engineer, producer extraordinaire.
Good morning, everybody.
I don't know if the intro is on video. We're now on YouTube, like the recording of this podcast is on YouTube. So if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcast, you can also watch us talk it out.
Full video production, right?
But I don't know if that intro is on.
Well, it's the animated intro.
Oh, okay. So you don't see me reading the intro.
Oh, no, you see that part.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just going to say, because
I thought you meant the theme song.
No. I mean, when I'm reading the intro, I'm literally reading it because I can't remember that small of a blurb.
One line.
Yeah, it's a one-liner.
Speaking of YouTube, for we've kind of done a little bit of a push since we started to record these videos, or these podcast episodes as video. And for longtime listeners, know that we used to have a segment called Questions from the Web. Mm-hmm. And before we get started on this brand new season here, I just wanted to mention, starting this Monday coming up, Questions from the Web is now going to be a YouTube series where Kathryn will answer one question from the web every single, or 2 a week. We're going to do have a release on Monday and a release on Friday.
Oh.
Yep. And so you can leave your question from the web in the comments of the YouTube channel, or you could always go to onseekingthebest.com and leave us a question there. You can leave us an audio message from there as well. And Kathryn will do her best to answer it on the new series. So go stay tuned for that. You know, go to our YouTube channel, check that out, subscribe, please. Subscribe is nice. We're getting a lot of listens, not a lot of subscribes. So,
well, I'm doing these questions from the web, kind of wherever I am.
Yeah. Oh, that's a nice
and
part
so
too.
You can
yeah.
guess what city I'm in.
Yeah. They're not always just, it's not a studio shot like this. It's wherever she happens to be at the time.
I'm traveling.
The question. Yeah. So
I'm traveling around, so it's fun. Recording videos.
Yeah. So go to YouTube, our YouTube channel, Seeking the Best Pod, and check that out. So,
awesome.
So we're going to start a new season this week.
Yeah, this is a new season. So last season was all about lead generation, and not specifically the how to get leads from that, but the struggles. Because honestly, if we're all being honest with ourselves as real estate agents, the biggest hurdle to success in this industry is not the actual how to. It's what goes on internally,
right,
that causes us to have obstacles.
Right.
The fear, the anxiety, call avoidance, you wake up and you have uncertainty around what to do. You have a bad day with your clients and feel like they're blaming you, and then that will spiral you. Mm-hmm. It's crazy how much of this business is just like an emotional roller coaster ride.
Right. Well, it's it's hard because you don't have a boss, and then no one's there to hold you accountable. No one's there to tell you what to do. No one's there telling you you're doing a bad job or a good job. It's kind of all on you. And it's like, how much are you going to lie to yourself?
Well, that's so funny. You said accountability, or you said accountable. I don't know. You said something about that word, and that comes up a lot. And even if you have someone who's there to hold you accountable, like a lot of brokerages have coaching programs, or you might be in a coaching program outside of your brokerage, or some sort of.
There's never a threat of being fired.
Well, yeah,
that's the thing, right? Unless you're on a team, right? That's a good way to be accountable. Join a team. Then you don't hit your numbers, you're going to get fired, right? That's that fear.
Maybe not the first time, but
that's
if
some
you show
fear-based. Yeah, that's some fear-based kind of thing. And if that's not for you, then what, but yes, you're right. Like, it's the accountability in the brokerage with a mentor or a lead advisor or whoever it is, right? At the end of the day, all they can do is ask you, did you do X, Y, and Z? And if you have no shame and can just go, no, I didn't do that, I don't know why, then it's never going to do anything.
Well, yeah. So even if you have somebody who's there to at least check in with you, it really, being accountable is all about self-accountability. Like, there's no real way for someone else to hold you accountable. All they're really doing is checking in on how you did. And if you didn't hit your goals, trying to help you unpack why, like those, all that we talked about last season.
Do you think when agents are like, oh, I'm not getting the support that I need at this brokerage, like newer agents, like who don't really know that's where that's coming from? Like but they can't voice it because they don't really know what they don't know.
There's too many different brokerages that's not a blanket. Yes.
Yeah.
Like there are a lot of places where you can go and hang your license, and that's not what they're known for. Like, they don't provide a support system. They're just there. Some brokerages have lead systems. Some brokerages have education and training. Some brokerages are like low split, and like that's the reason, that's how they draw people in, is because, well, they don't. If there's a lower split, then you make more money, but not necessarily, right? Right. because we're all the worst bosses for ourselves,
right?
So that we talked that into the ground last season. No, we could talk about that for forever, but we talked about that. So if you didn't listen to last season, definitely go back and take a listen to all the different lead
sources.
Up
on episodes.
Here's the thing. If you're listening for the first time today, this is my 20th year in real estate. And so I've tried all of them, like all the different lead sources I've done in some capacity, and decided it wasn't for me, or decided it was, and then dug in deeper, or failed at it, and all the things. So I've been there is all I'm saying. I've been there, and still learning and growing. Like, that's what this is all about.
That's why the name of the show is Seeking Your Best, right? Yep. Because you're never quite there.
You'll never actually, I think that's something that took me a really long time to learn, actually, is like, there is no like end destination where you're like, I did it. I hit all my goals and I learned everything possible.
Right. When you see those goals are in sight and you're going to get to them, you're already making decisions of next year's goals that are higher.
Yeah.
And so by the time you do hit the goals, you're like, yeah. But
cool. Next
but
step.
Yeah. So it's
because you want to improve. Yeah. We all want to improve and be better versions of ourselves. I mean, if you're listening to this podcast.
Well, yeah. And at least, that everybody has different goals in their career. Right. And that's one of the beautiful things about being a real estate agent is you can set the goal, whatever you want. Right. Some people are perfectly fine doing 8 sales a year. That's all I want to do. I don't need any more than that. That's great. Right. And other people want a 7th level team where, they're doing 150 sales a year. Like, it all depends on where you're at. And that's the nice thing. Like I said, you can kind of decide what that is. We were talking about this the other day. maybe it was last night is actually, but you have to have a goal.
Yeah. Well,
Right?
we were falling to sleep. We were.
Were we no.
Just kidding. Like
that.
as if we talk about real estate.
No, but
nonstop.
But a lot of agents don't have goals. They just kind of work day to day. And that is a really good way to wake up 10 years later and be like, where'd the last decade go?
Well, and I've felt that even with setting goals. So like, life just sort of spins by you if you're not careful. But yeah, so we're delving into a new season, and I kind of feel like this season, the main theme here is just like what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it's not resetting, rebuilding, restarting, rebranding. It's like there's always a moment where, at least for me, but I think most people will resonate, where something just doesn't feel right and you have to restart in some way. Not necessarily your whole business, although there's plenty of people who have torn it all down. But we're delving into this idea of like finally admitting that something's not right and taking control and making hard decisions to restart at different moments. Yeah.
And I get, that is the thing, like, because I know that on all sorts of different levels, Kathryn has had to restart different parts of her business, sometimes the whole thing. Right? It's like any longtime listener knows from that in the last year, 2 years, Kathryn stripped all of her team away and started over. Right? Every single time there's been an issue, a problem, no matter how big or how small, and Kathryn finally gets to the point where she's like, something has to change at this point, and she changes it. Inevitably, after that change happens, she says, why did I wait so long to make that change? Mm-hmm. Right? And so that's kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about the 10-year thing. Having the goals and having a finish line, even if those goals change, and they should change and they will change. And you should be open to those goals changing. Having those goals there, though, something out there to shoot for, puts you on an artificial timeline that kind of can keep you motivated to be aware of what's going on around you in your business, to say, is this the best? If I want to be here by X, I need to get it in gear, but this isn't working anymore. I've got to figure out a different way to do this, and being honest with yourself. And that's really the key is looking inward and looking at your business realistically. Mm-hmm. Think what Kathryn, as a coach, and as being a coach and also having a coach for a very long time, it took many, many years for you to objectively look at your business and say, well, if I was coaching somebody, what would I say about their business? Yeah. Right. It takes a long time to kind of have that perspective, but you should start doing it now. Like, look at your business, look at what it is, and then imagine somebody else in the brokerage said, hey, can I pick your brain for a minute? And they told you everything about their business, but it was yours. What would you say to them? And if you can have the answers, but you don't do them, well, that's what we're going to kind of talk about.
Well, and so starting over, essentially, I kept saying reset, restart, but it's starting over. Anytime you make a big decision that changes something functionally in your business, it is starting over. But it's never, ever starting from zero, because whatever point you are in your career, you now have all of that experience and knowledge to make a better decision the next time. Now, that doesn't mean that you won't make the same mistakes, and maybe they're slightly different, but make the same mistakes. And we'll talk more about that, I'm sure, on all this season. But you're never starting from zero. And I think it just took me a really long time to realize, number one, that other people also have restarted and torn down a team. Like, I thought it was like, you get in your own head. I've said this many times, but it is so true. And I was talking to somebody yesterday literally about this, and it was actually a mortgage person, but he had a license in a previous life. Mm-hmm. And he was like, it's such a lonely business being a real estate agent. And I'm like, yeah, it really can be. Mm-hmm. And like, you get in your own head and you think like you're the only one experiencing these things sometimes. And that's why I love going to these. I just came back from Mega Camp, and I love going to these big conferences because it gives you an opportunity to get in a room with other people who have been there. Yeah. Been there, done that. And you're hearing this story and you're like, oh yeah,
I'm not the only one.
I'm not the only one. And this person like came out the other side and was better for it. Yeah. And it just gives you confidence sometimes to come back and make different decisions and do different things and start over in certain areas of your business. And it's okay. It's okay. So specifically, I was going to just kind of tell two scenarios, let's call them. Okay. Where I feel like I've had to restart and completely different things. It's okay. It's okay.
It's okay.
So one of the first, I think, kind of defining moments in my real estate career was like, again, if you're listening for the first time, I'll give you like the briefest history, but I went to college for marketing, and then I went back to school for residential planning, which is like interior design, but not as fancy of a term. Mm-hmm. And I was working as a bartender at nights, and I got my real estate license and started trying to sell real estate in 2006. And I was a solo agent, like we all are when we first get our license. Every single one of us is a solo agent. And so I'm trying to figure out what does being a real estate agent mean? Like, what are my job responsibilities? Figuring all that out.
And you were working at a brokerage that spent a lot of money on brand marketing for the brokerage, and not a lot of money on training. So and 20 years ago, mm-hmm. there wasn't Reddit, YouTube to the level of where you can, or Chat GPT, where you can find this information. It was
the how part of like what and how am I supposed to be doing was not as readily accessible as it is today. That is 100% true. And so I was a solo agent. So of course I worked from home like most people do when they first get started. Sure. Like you don't go rent an office space. And then I did that for 5-6 years. Mm-hmm. 5-6 years.
Continued to bartend. And finally got to a point where I said, I need support. Like I need to have some sort of administrative support. It took you a while. You started to figure it out and started to get to a point where you could say, those are the dogs, guys.
We record at home. Sometimes this happens.
Where you got to the point, did somebody knock on the door?
I have no idea.
All right. You continue to talk, tell your story. I'll be right back.
This is a professional environment here. But no, so I finally got to that point where I wanted to hire an admin person. And that in itself is sort of a restarting of your business, because you're about to become a different version of yourself. You're going to go from entrepreneur, solo agent to manager and employer of people. And so that in itself is a restart of your business. But that's not specifically what I'm talking about. What the major shift for me was that I brought on some administrative support, like sort of part-time, realized that didn't work, and then brought on somebody that was going to be full-time. But I was having them come to my office, or mm-hmm. my home office, I should say. And I was comfortable there. Like we had a nice setup and it was a comfortable environment. And so what I had to break out of and realize and restart and do differently, once I realized like, oh, this is like, now I'm sort of responsible for this other person's livelihood.
Right.
This is a big shift from I'm selling houses and lead generating and marketing and doing these activities to I'm managing and training this person.
Yeah, you created accountability.
Yeah, all of a sudden, it is true.
I know.
I will say, if you get to a point where it's time to hire, that is like some ultimate accountability.
Yeah.
Because now you really have the responsibility of paying someone else's bills. I mean, granted, they're going to earn it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
you have to have the money there.
You have to have the money.
Yeah.
And
scary stuff
when
you haven't done it before. Yeah.
It is really scary, but I was comfortable in our house. But what happened was that I had some part-time and I went to hire somebody full-time and I realized this is a complete stranger and I really don't feel comfortable having them come to our house anymore. This is going to be full-time. What am I going to have them park in our driveway? And if you need to leave, like they got to back out.
Yeah.
And so I finally made the decision.
It just didn't seem professional.
Yeah. It didn't seem like all of a sudden I'm an employer.
Yeah.
It didn't seem right in the moment, but it was such a different thing. Like
you have to come to terms in your own head that your job that you've been doing this way, even though it's evolving and growing for years, actually not even just the years, but since the inception of it is going to change.
So,
right. And it's like, you didn't think about that part of it.
Mm-hmm.
It was just that next step. That's all you couldn't see beyond the next step, which was I'm going to hire somebody and it's going to be part-time and they'll just work from here.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's as far as you could see, instead of realizing that, oh no, first of all, the part-time's not going to work. And then it's full-time. And so the idea of now I'm responsible for this person, like maybe in a theoretical way,
mm-hmm.
but not in a real, like visceral, I'm feeling this sort of way. And then know that, oh, this is when the job changes for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you make that decision,
you don't realize that.
Yeah, you don't. So what I did know was that it seemed unprofessional to have somebody coming there that I didn't know full time. And I needed to make a change. I needed to start over and treat this like the business that it was.
Because there's a fear of, would they treat it like the business that it was if it was being done in our house?
Yeah. And I don't know if I could have articulated that at that time, but that's what it was.
Yeah.
Is like, this is weird to have somebody come here, and how do we run a business out of my house? And I'm not saying you can't do that. I'm just saying, like, at that moment in time, I realized this is a turning point where I am starting over.
Yeah.
I am no longer Kathryn, real estate agent. I am building a real estate business and a team where I have to respect that and start over. And I got an office in the Keller Williams office, and it changed my business.
Yeah.
Like having structure, and I had structure, but again, it's a restart. It's like now there's structure in the day to train and hold that person accountable to standards, and to make sure that that budgets were in place, because now you got somebody else. And it's not that I didn't have budgets or things before.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think a few years before this time, I really got serious about that.
Mm-hmm.
But all of a sudden somebody else is helping with these things, and you need to be able to explain to them what this business is. Right. And so it was a pivotal moment in Kathryn Stelge's Think Little B team.
Well, yeah, of course. And it's like, and yes, you had structure, you had all of those things. It's kind of like, making a movie with your buddies. It's like you can spend $50,000 and make a short film and go, look guys, we're doing it. Right. And you are, but it's not making a $500 million movie for Marvel, right? They're both movies. They're both, but there's a lot more at stake, because there's a lot more invested, and there's a lot more people, and there's a lot of money, and there's all of these things. So the responsibility is different. The way it comes together is different. The stress is different. All of those things are different and stuff. And this is just another level up from making a movie with your buddies. You've just, by going into the office, by having rent to pay, by having payroll to do. Then it's like, well, maybe if I have payroll for this person, then I should be on payroll. Not me, Patrick, Kathryn, if I was speaking for her.
And I had been paying myself, just to kind of illustrate the journey. I had been paying myself payroll. Like, I think you get into real estate. So you had
made one step.
You go through these business changes where like, okay, you're just like paycheck to paycheck, right? Because you don't have consistent enough business to like pay yourself consistently.
Right.
And then you get to a point where you do, and you pay yourself a salary. And then, and I was paying, my own I was doing my own payroll taxes and stuff. And I think at that moment when I shifted, and then I hired some part-time help. And that was sort of the breaking point though, where it was like, this doesn't help me. It doesn't help me get to the next level. And what I realized is like, it wasn't a broken business or system. Like sometimes it is just like straight up broken. It wasn't broken.
And we'll get to that.
I was doing well. And I think at that time, over like a few year period, I had grown my sales volume like 40% year over year, like 3 or 4 years in a row. And so I just had outgrown that environment. I had outgrown me doing it by myself. And I didn't even really know much about what it meant to have a team or anything. I just knew I needed support. And then although my business was working, I had outgrown it and I needed to take that next step. And I think it takes time to get to that place and be able to admit to yourself that, hey, I'm doing okay. And yet, am I like living up to my potential? Could I be doing more?
Right.
And what needs to change? And sometimes it is just getting in a new environment. It could be that, or it could be hiring somebody new so that they can help you take yourself to the next level.
Yeah. The new environment is a good first step. Like you kind of went backwards because, and then switched environments because you had no other choice because it felt weird and all of those things. But if I was doing it from the beginning and somebody was asking my suggestion, I would say change the environment first, obviously. Yeah. And most people don't have a guest house to rent, to where they could still not invite somebody into their front door, but have a house like, in the backyard and kind of out of the way and stuff. But most people don't have that. So what are you going to do? That is the only thing, right? Yeah, we didn't really say that, but just to clarify, I did change the environment first. We bought a house that had a separate guest house. And so I went from working in an office in our home into having a dedicated workspace. Right.
So I did change the environment first. It just was still in my home.
Yeah.
But that is like first step. If you're feeling stuck, change your environment.
Yeah.
By the way, I think that's advice for like every day. If you are feeling stuck in just like the day-to-day grind, like go work from somewhere else. Yeah. Get out and get into a different environment for a minute.
Yeah. And it's like, well, my brokerage doesn't have that and blah, blah, blah. And all of those things. Those are all excuses. And you can find other places. I'm not saying go to Starbucks. Jeez, do not do that.
You can go to a coffee house.
I don't want you to work out of the coffee house 8 hours a day. But maybe, it's like if your brokerage isn't offering things, it's like it's like think about what's going to work for you and make the decisions. These are tough decisions. Maybe the brokerage isn't the right brokerage. If you feel like you need to have something and that brokerage isn't offering it, then maybe you need to go somewhere else. It's like these are hard, tough decisions to have to think about. At least entertain the idea. Right. It's like those are those things where it's like you guys get locked in on, well, this is where I work and they don't have it. Then change the environment. Then change where you are. It's like nobody's going to do it for you. It's your business.
Tough love.
You have to do well. I mean, it's true, right? It's like, well, my brokerage doesn't have any bullpen space, right? Or whatever. Then find another brokerage that does. Like that's part of taking the reins and taking control of your career and your job because no one's going to do it for you.
Well, that goes back to...
And all of a sudden it's 5 years later and you're still working out of the house and you're still doing those things. And you're going to say, well, because my brokerage didn't have it. It's like, well, why are you at that brokerage? There's 100 of them.
Well, that goes back to what we started with, which is self-accountability.
Yeah.
Is like you do have to make the decisions.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes years to make the decision and pull the trigger. But if you're feeling stuck, and sometimes it is negative, and we'll talk about another story here in a minute, but sometimes it's a negative situation that you have to pull yourself out of. And sometimes it's positive growth. Yeah. But in order to keep going, and sometimes you have to switch it up.
It's both.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the negative, that at the end of the day, it's like that is positive growth. It's like what you said before. It's like all of those experiences make it easier to rebuild the next time because you bring all of those things with you. It makes it easier to make those big decisions. If you make a bunch of big decisions before it, the next big decision is easier to make, right? And the smaller decisions, even easier. But you have to make those decisions and steps. You have to take those steps to do it. And I think when it comes to something like finding your space, like, okay, let's just say you're in the bullpen. Okay, you're in the bullpen. Then what? Well, this is getting old and it's the same and blah, blah, blah. Then it's time to change that environment again, move to a different spot, take a small office. Whatever it is, whatever it is that you have to do, change that environment to get yourself into the taking on the responsibility of paying the rent at the office might also give you the accountability to work a little harder to make sure that you can stay in that office and that all those other people out there that are in the offices next to you don't see you packing all that stuff up and out of the office because you couldn't afford it. Whereas working in the bullpen and you just kind of show up and just kind of sit in one of the cubicles and then you leave whenever, if you have one of those brokerages that isn't charging you for bullpen space, it's like, well, maybe that's not enough. You don't have enough skin in the game.
You know what? You mentioned like changing, even just like if you've got a spot that you sit in all the time and you're finding yourself like coming in and sitting down and starting work, and then you're like cutting out early and because you're bored or whatever, and just moving to a different spot works.
Yeah, it does.
There's studies on this. Your brain likes novelty. So don't do it every day because you also need consistency. But when you get to that point where you feel a little stuck, just move.
Yeah. It's the same as like going for a walk.
Physically move. Yeah, physically move.
All right, you want to take a break?
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break. Real estate agents face questions that rarely have simple, one-size-fits-all answers. That's why Questions from the Web is now a YouTube series. Every Monday and Friday, Kathryn answers a real question agents are asking, cuts through the generic advice, and gives you one practical next move you can use in your business. Find new answers twice a week. Watch Questions from the Web on the Seeking the Best YouTube channel.
If you're enjoying this episode and want more ways to seek your best, not just in your business, but in how you spend your time and energy, there are a few easy places to connect with us beyond the podcast.
Over on YouTube, you can find us at Seeking the Best Pod. We share full episodes of the show, short coaching clips, reviews of real estate products, and tips on building a real estate business that actually works in real life. We post videos on Thursday mornings.
Or find us on Instagram at On Seeking the Best. There we post behind the scene moments, short practical tips, and some of the real unfiltered stuff that doesn't always make it into the show.
And if you're looking for episode supplements like the Candy Bag, where Kat posts more in-depth ideas that we discuss on the episodes, head to onseekingthebest.com. You can learn more about us, buy some Seeking the Best merch, or send us a question that we'll answer on the show.
However you connect with us, thanks for being here and keep seeking your best.
And we're back.
So we talked about more of a positive restart.
Yeah.
But there are moments in your business that will be more like they'll have more negative feelings to them. And I've definitely had these over the years. And one that comes to mind is when I hired somebody to be a member of the team that really just was not a culture fit. And I know we use like the word culture a lot in business, and it's like one of these hard to put your finger on.
Yeah, because most of the time, there's a very small number of people that are behind the idea of whatever the culture is that's being created, and everyone else has to get on board with the culture, right? So creating it yourself There's no guidebook to that. It's really all about your own work ethics.
It's who you are. When you have a small team,
it's you.
Your culture is like whoever you are as a person. And you want to surround yourself with people who have the same thoughts and values. And I'm not saying they need to be exactly like you, but they need to have just a general sense of the same purpose and outlook
and maybe not the exact same goals, but having goals and just personality, whatever. And as we've talked about this before, and then I'll let you tell your story, but as your team grows and individual places, because there's more people, can get what individual personalities can be watered down. So like your first hire, second hire, third hire, very important that they are in lockstep culture wise with you, because there's not one bad egg is going to ruin everything. Right. So, but as your team, if you, let's say you're all of a sudden you've got, 4 or 5 admins and 5 or 6 agents and a couple ISAs and stuff, then it's like, as those start to happen, those hires happen, it can be watered down a little bit because there isn't as much influence because there's way more people and stuff. So this is when you maybe had an admin and then this person. So it was like 3 people. So having somebody who doesn't match culture wise, it's a very big matzo ball floating around out there. Right.
Yeah. And I think the reason I wanted to bring this one up is because this is something I think as you grow a team, it is one of the biggest mistakes you can make is getting somebody on your team and in your organization that does not align. And it's a bad mistake when you bring them on, but it's a worse mistake when you keep them on and you just keep letting that seep in to the organization, because it can, like when you're so small, you can lose really good people. Now, luckily I didn't, but like you can lose really good people because they also are like, yeah, I don't want to work with this person.
Yeah. And what do you mean by, and I mean, I'm sure we can get in. Do you want to tell any more of that story of like, okay.
Yeah. So I made a hire because of a need. I was, again, you start to, as you start to grow and you bring on somebody, then they're going to create a return on that investment. And that return is usually in time that you now have to go get more business. And so as that started to happen by having administrative support, then the next natural thing, and I had, just to clarify, I had one admin and then I had a TC, a third party TC. And so there was basically 3 of us. And then I was looking to bring on a salesperson, and that like natural progression of growth was like made total sense. But when you make that first hire, like you obviously, even if you've hired a few other people because you've gone through some admins before finding the right people, like you don't necessarily, you're not an expert. Like I think that's the best way. You're not an expert in hiring because you've hired a couple people. I mean, you're not going to be an expert in hiring for years and years and years.
And it's a different job than admin.
It is a different job too.
Yeah.
And even though you've been doing the job and you know how to train it, you're like, okay, cool. I know what I want to offload these responsibilities to this person. You don't necessarily know what you need in, and personality is not the right word. I mean, it sort of is, but like you can have somebody who maybe isn't a personality type that you're really, maybe like for me, I'm an introvert, and you could have somebody that's more outgoing in personality. That's not the same thing as how they think about life and work.
Yeah.
And you can even have somebody who seems to be aligned, and you mentioned work ethic, and I do think that that's important too, but you could have somebody who seems to be a nice person. They've got a good work ethic. They seem like a hustler. You could have somebody like that still isn't in alignment with your values as a person.
Yeah.
And one of my big things is entitlement. In fact, to the point that I believe in earning the right to do things, and to a fault.
Yeah. It's also one of your hindrances of why it's taking you so long to have success, because you felt like you didn't earn it.
But it's still built and bred into me. And so I believe that you earn things. And so when you have, when somebody shows up with entitlement, what that looks like is them feeling like they deserve things when in your mind as a leader, they haven't earned it. And so imagine like that's a value misalignment.
Yeah.
And so that can cause conflict. And what happens is, so this particular hire, I kind of knew from the beginning.
There was a thing. There was just like an
off thing, right?
But you couldn't put your finger on it of what it was.
Yeah.
Couldn't vocalize or describe it, but there was a thing. And it's like something's not right. Like it's like not like they're like a psycho or anything, but some like personality, like we're just not, there's just no there's not that connect where we just don't even have to say anything or whatever. And I always used to describe this, especially when we were in the bar business and stuff, is that somebody you would leave the keys with? Oh. Can you leave the keys to the bar with them and they'll lock up and you don't have to worry? That's
actually a really good thing. And because that's trust.
Yeah.
But
yeah. That is what it is, right? You can say, can you trust them? That sounds too like yes or no. Mm-hmm. It doesn't, you don't think past the word trust, but when you put it in a situation, like would you leave the keys to the bar with them at 2:00 in the morning and trust them to lock up? Mm-hmm. It's a situation mm-hmm. that you have to kind of a thought game that you have to kind of figure out. Mm-hmm. And so that maybe that's why I always have used that as a way to kind of describe it.
And let me back up a second, because I was talking about entitlement and earning the right. So I also think of myself as a fair and just person. I always will look internally and blame myself on things to a fault. Yeah. Everything's to a fault. I know it's all extremes, but no. But I will blame myself. Like if I feel like something's not going right with a hire, I'm going to assume that I missed the mark on training or something, and I'll look inward. And so I'll hold on to somebody longer than I should because I'm going to blame myself first.
Yeah.
But how this also shows up is like anytime there's a conflict over money, which happens, like splits and like, well, I feel like I earn more or whatever.
Yeah. And this happens because they aren't doing the things that they should be doing to making the sales that they aren't making. So they're chasing and they're not seeing the forest for the trees and all of that stuff.
But in any situation, I'm talking with sellers, buyers, agents, referral agents, anything. If there's ever like some sort of dispute or conflict over money, I will always try to look at it with an open mind and say, what's the fair thing to do?
Yeah.
And so I've given probably money away in situations where I shouldn't have. And I don't mean like, no, I stand by those decisions because I feel like I was looking at it to see what's the fair thing to do in this situation. It's not black and white. Every situation is a little bit different. Why am I bringing all this up?
I don't know.
because I feel like I want to be fair. Entitlement really rubs me the wrong way because, well, that's not fair.
Right.
Because
entitlement already rubs you the wrong way. But then on top of that, you feel like go out of my way to be ultra fair, probably to my detriment. And yet I'm still being told that it's not fair. And these people this person is has entitlement.
Yeah.
And it's like, but I'm going out of my way to be even more fair than anybody else would about it. And so you get doubly upset.
Yeah. And excuse me, getting worked up, but understand like these are things that I've had to work on too, because, it's all about perception and how you interact with people. And I'm not perfect in any way, shape, or form. And I used to even feel like, well, why would it be fair for my, this is going to make me sound really bad, but like, again, these are things that I've worked through. As a leader, you have to learn and grow as well in that capacity. You don't just grow as an agent, you grow as a leader. But I used to be like, somebody would go on vacation. I'm like, well, that's not fair. I haven't been on vacation in 14 years,
Inevitably, almost everybody that gets hired says, just so you know, I have a 3-week vacation plan. And it's like, you're 26 years old with no money in your pocket. Why are you planning 3-week vacations?
But I've like grown in that.
Can I say real quick? That sounded like I sounded like a dick saying that, but
bleep that out.
You can say that. You can even say that on TV. I sounded pretty bad saying that, but the only reason I'm saying that is out of jealousy for Kathryn, because she worked for 12 years with no vacation. Yeah, but 3 jobs or 2 jobs and going to school. And so when I hear like, oh, I don't have any buyers, I don't have any sellers, I don't have a sphere, but I'm going to take a 3-week vacation.
How does that work out for you guys? Can I still get the job?
Right. It rubs me the wrong way. That's all.
But that is something I've had to work on, where it's like, well, okay, everybody deserves a break and time off. And it's my fault, my responsibility to do it for myself. Mm-hmm. And the only reason I bring that up, though, is it goes back to that entitlement thing, where in that situation, I was ready to grow and add another agent, because I kept this person, even though I felt the signs were there that there wasn't a very good alignment to work together. I kept moving forward, and I got to a place where I was ready to hire somebody else. Yeah. And there were plenty of leads. I was growing the listings, and I wanted to go ahead and take that next step. And this person actually got upset about it, because they viewed it as like lost opportunity for them. And I had to go and have a conversation.
What they were saying is, I don't want you to grow your business anymore because that might affect me, without even thinking of how ridiculous that sounds.
And so 2 parts come up when we're talking about starting over in this episode. 2 things happen is like, because you start to grow as a leader, you have to like own that decision and say, okay, well, I'm going to have a conversation with this person and get them on the same page. And so I did. And even though I didn't want to, I wanted to just be like, I can do whatever I want. It's my business. But I had a conversation about how this actually helps the business and why we're doing this and everything. And my leadership lesson was like, I should have maybe been talking more about it all along. Now I know I had to some degree, but that you have to.
You're blaming yourself even today.
Stop it. You see? You have to paint, like they talk about painting the vision. Yeah. If you're going to have team members and lead people, you have to be constantly talking about what growth looks like. Hold on.
No, because you're saying all of this, but you're forgetting, like, you from the beginning had an org chart. They got the org chart, saw that the idea of growing the team, of hiring, that was not like you all of a sudden came out of the blue and said, I'm going to hire somebody. That person knew that was the case, that they knew. So stop blaming yourself as if you're saying, well, maybe I didn't explain. You just told everybody that you didn't explain it maybe well enough to them. You did. Stop making excuses that you didn't do it.
I'm just explaining the leadership path of growth. Yeah. To know that you have to talk about it at every moment that you're meeting with people. I don't know if
that's true. I think you have to let them know from the beginning that this is the goal. And believe me, I'm sure it was discussed and talked about in team meetings that these are the goals of the team and blah, blah, blah. And if they don't remember that, it's because they don't want to. And that's how you know that person isn't on the same culture fit as everybody else.
And that's why that person's not here anymore.
I know.
And my point, though, is that there are going to be situations where you have to start over, and you realize it in those moments where it's like, there's 2 paths here. Mm-hmm. I've got somebody who's not a fit, and I can tell that because I've felt these signs for
since the beginning.
From the beginning.
Yeah.
And
now I can put my finger on it.
And now I see this in action.
Mm-hmm.
And now, but I'm going to grow as a leader, have a direct conversation and try to improve and do better at explaining the path forward for them and their opportunity. And then you do that too. And then you still see that person showing up entitled, not being a team player. And you have to make that difficult decision to
take a step backwards
to what feels like taking a step backwards, because you maybe held on to that person for too long. And you're like, well, now if I have to take a step backwards, I have to go find somebody else.
And then I have to train
over.
them and do all the stuff, and I'm going to fall back. And it's right. But what you don't want to do is go find that other person, like what she was doing, right? She was looking for somebody. Now, let's just say that that person wasn't as bad. They were bad, but not as bad. And Kathryn did find somebody else and hired them. What about that poison pill that's still on the team?
Well, that's why I think the difficult decisions that we have to make when we start growing a team are letting people go that aren't a fit for that reason.
Yeah.
Because if I hadn't made that difficult decision, and by the way, I did not make that decision alone. Obviously, like Patrick and I talk about it all the time. I had a coach at the time that I was constantly talking about. I think she was actually fascinated by this person. And I made that decision through months and months of conversations and figuring out that the only path forward, path forward was to start over.
You went in every direction around the pathway, the one that's right in front of you, but it's straight up in the air. And then there's all these other ones that all wind around, and you tried everything instead of taking the straight path, because the straight path up in the air, although it was the straightest and the fastest, it was also the hardest, which is to fire somebody. To not be like, hey, this isn't working or whatever, but not just fire somebody, but fire somebody who's entitled and thinks they're doing a great job. Right.
So this is I feel like a long enough time has passed where you can talk about these things like
this was many years ago.
And I think back to that time and I'm like, I felt sick to my stomach.
Yeah. Like
I knew I needed to do this. And I probably, by the time I'd made the decision, it was months before I actually did it.
Yeah.
And
a lot of tests like, well, let's just see if she does this. Let's just see if they do this. Let's just see if he does this. Like there's a whole lot of like these little experiments that you kind of do in your own head, giving them like little lines to cross and see, you know what I mean? And it's like, that makes it.
Well, and then you go back to what I said when you start hiring people is you have this responsibility.
Yeah.
And now when it's a salesperson, you're not paying them a paycheck, but you still feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to let this person go. And they've now at this point, because these were other mistakes I was making, not part of this conversation, but like giving away business.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking sphere business. I'm talking hand me business.
Not holding them accountable to a 30, 60, 90.
And in doing that though, that person had like earned a livelihood and I was going to take it away. And so that's a big, hard thing to do.
You had handed them a livelihood.
That's what I said.
You said they earned it.
Well, I said first I handed a lot of business out. And so months after like finally knowing that I was going to do this, months of just internal struggle, I remember I felt sick to my stomach. Like I thought I was going to throw up in doing this. But I finally did. And the person actually called me the B word on the way out the door. And I was like,
cold-hearted.
Like,
wasn't it cold-hearted?
Oh, yes. And in the moment though, I had just this weight lifted and I had 100%.
She skipped to her car.
100% confidence that I had made the right decision.
Yeah.
But oh my God.
Because of how she reacted. And it's like, oh, now I see who you are for real. Like the mask finally came off.
I feel like though, the reason I'm telling this story is that it's something that if you hire somebody, you will deal with firing with somebody.
Yeah.
You will fire someone if you're going to hire someone. Okay. Yeah. And it stinks, and it will take years of your life off of you.
Yeah.
If you don't take that responsibility seriously.
Quick. Yeah.
And so it's something that I think about now whenever I start to feel those uncomfortable feelings of like, this isn't right. Now I still make mistakes. I still sometimes blame myself, hold on to them a little bit too long. But
that's because you're also a very fair and a very nice person. And so and even to this day, if something's not working with somebody, the very first thing Kathryn does is says, what am I doing? What can I do to help fix this problem? She never blames that person first. She always looks inward, and she just doesn't look as inward as she used to, like for as long, I guess.
Well, I still look inward, but but
not as long.
Because you also, as you are growing a team, you also continue to add more systems. You continue to fine tune things, and you give yourself, by doing that, like, no, I know that this is on point.
Yeah. The person,
and that this just isn't a fit.
It's like we used to do with the 30, 60, 90, which is you give these a new agent, they join the team, you give them a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day, and they have goals that they have to meet for each one of those. Kathryn used to be real fast and loose with that because she didn't want to get through the trouble of training somebody for 90 days, right? Which isn't 90 full days. It's way more than that. And then have them say, oh, well, you didn't hit your numbers, you're fired. Like, you can't do that. Well, yeah, you can. Right. And it's like, because here's the deal. If you have a 30, 60, 90, if you've gotten to the point of running your business to where it's like, these are the goals that are set by me for my agents, for my admin, for whatever, that you have to have this and this and this done. The right person for that job, the person with the culture that matches yours, will have no problem doing those things. That's what it's for.
Well, so just to clarify, because not everybody is in Keller Williams and knows what a 30, 60, 90 is. It's literally just an outline of what needs to happen when for a new hire in the first 30 days, the first 60 days, and the first 90 days. Right.
And my whole point is that the right person for the job, the person who matches your culture, the person who is going to help get you to the next level those 30, 60, 90 won't even be an issue for them.
I agree. I'm not.
So
yeah,
Kathryn has hired people where the first, like within a week, the first week, did you make your calls? No. Well, there was a time where she would have one-on-ones and all of this stuff and try to figure out why. That doesn't happen anymore.
Well, you know what it is too, because we're talking about, when you talk about culture, it's not just like a value alignment. There's also culture of productivity.
Yeah.
It's like, this is a business and we do have to make sales. And so if you've got, there's sometimes like culture misalignment, and then there's job misalignment.
Yeah.
And job misalignment, I think, can show up really easily in those first 90 days. And because they're not able to achieve the metrics that you set forward. And so it makes it much easier to have a conversation with them at a 30-day review of like, hey, this doesn't seem like a fit because of these things.
Yeah.
It is more difficult to start over with that hire when it's a culture issue, because it feels more personal.
Yeah, no, I get that. You can't just throw the numbers down and go like, look at your numbers.
Somebody could be just killing it and doing everything you're telling them to do.
That's true too. Yeah.
But so that's why I wanted to tell that story, because I've had both versions of this. When you hire people,
it's easy to fire somebody if they're not doing their job. It's hard to fire somebody if they're doing their job, but the culture doesn't fit.
Yeah, there's just, so these signs, they matter, and you'll feel them because you'll have dread to go to your office and dread to have your meetings with them. You'll dread that when their name pops up on the phone. And this applies to other misalignments too. Like if you have a customer or client misalignment, you feel that dread when you see their phone number popping up. That means there's some sort of misalignment with like who you are and who you are as an agent and like how they're showing up. And so when you start to feel those things, because you might have missed it in the interview process. Like I knew something was off in this particular situation, but you might have missed it. and you start to see it over time, and then you start to feel uncomfortable about your own business, that's where you need to check in and say, is it worth it to what will feel like in the moment, take a step backwards and start over with that one, or keep moving forward knowing that you are not going to change that person's core beliefs or values.
Yeah.
Like they will continue to show up as that person and then eventually potentially poison the well if it's a culture mismatch. And so, but I personally have done this, and I know so many people that have, is like we sit with it for so long because it is easier, even with the dread and uncomfortability. Like it's easier to just do the same thing every day than it is to restart something.
Well, it's not just, it's not only that it's easier, there's no fear of the unknown, because you at least know what that is. Whereas the fear of the unknown is getting rid of them. You don't know how that's going to go. And then you have to find somebody else. And that fear is real easy to push away. And an example of that is we have a pretty big attic. It's one of those old attics that you would see like in a movie, right? With the dress form in it and an old bicycle. It's like one of those. Well, there's 25 unfinished paintings up there. Kathryn would never let me throw them away. Sometimes it's easier to just throw it away and grab a new canvas than it is to try to fix the canvas, fix the painting that is already there, because it's built on shaky ground to begin with. So composition wise, structure wise, something's not working right. So instead of trying to fix it, all of the energy and all of the stuff to get something that's sort of okay is not worth the time and energy versus starting over with it, or worse, just trying to finish it and being like, well, I'm not going to not finish it. Damn right, I'm not going to finish it. I have a finite amount of time to do these paintings. And I am not going to keep going down this road for another 50, 60, 80 hours to finish it when I can already tell this isn't going to work out the way I want it to. Throw it away, start over. Right. That takes a long time to be able to figure out that that's what you should do, that you're actually saving time by starting over from scratch than if you continue to push through and have something mediocre at the end.
Well, I think so great analogy as per usual. Yes, I don't let Patrick throw away his old pieces. I know you're never going to finish them. I'm never going to pick them up again, but
that's why they're all in the attic and they're all just out like they just go like in a line all the way across, and they're all figures, people like looking straight back at you.
Super creepy up there.
Real creepy up there.
But I was going to say, so just to kind of round this out, like we're not suggesting that you blow everything up, start over just because something doesn't feel right. I think it's worth questioning though. So the best thing to ask first is like, what is working? Like what's working well? What's not working well? And is the thing that's not working well something that is this foundational piece that is necessary to move forward? And so in the situation where it's a person and it's a culture fit, that's the foundation of your business.
Yeah.
Your values and how you want this to grow over time is the foundation. It has to change. You have to start over. If it's as simple as like we were talking about brokerages earlier, like changing your environment, your brokerage might already have everything you need.
Yep.
Maybe you're just not utilizing it. So if something feels stuck or out of alignment, like you have to ask yourself,
is there a team leader that you can talk to? Is there a mentor in the office? There's somebody that you can
like what's working well and what's not working. And is it already available to me?
Remember, you're not alone.
Yeah.
Right. There are tens of thousands of other agents going through the exact same thing that you're going through right now. Go talk to somebody in your office that knows more than you and explain what you're feeling, because they will know where you're coming from.
Well, because sometimes starting over isn't some grand thing. It's as simple as like, let me go back to day one. where I started at my brokerage and like get re-onboarded because I never really got set up in the systems and I don't even know what we have. Yeah. Like starting over can be as simple as that, or it can be as big as stripping everything back to ground zero and saying, let me rebuild what I intended to from the beginning. Now that I have all the experience and knowledge that I have.
Yeah. I'm going to get there. I'm going to get to that next step that much faster, cleaner, stronger by doing it. Right. Okay.
Make it simple. Your best move that you can use, not a grind. It's a tip that saves you time. Your best move. Do your best move.
All right, it's time for this week's best move. One simple, smart thing to focus on this week, not a giant to-do list, not something that takes hours, just one move that actually helps move your business forward. And for this first week of this new season, schedule one protected 30-minute lead generation block this week and complete it before checking your email.
Start small.
Start small. That's all you got to do.
Maybe starting over just looks like revisiting your calendar.
Yeah.
and making sure those blocks are in there and that you're actually doing them.
Right. 100%. Small win. Kat, you got a small win this week?
My small win is really more of a big win. But you know what? It's also a small win. Let me share. Okay. So I went to Mega Camp and it's a big annual conference for Keller Williams. And you come back with all these notes and it is really hard to narrow down, like, what am I going to change? I've got all these new ideas, new thoughts. How do I sift through? And so what I did was I took, I had a delay like from my last session to when my plane was taking off. I had like 6 hours. And I was like, I'm going to take all my notes and I'm going to put them into Claude and I'm going to have it. Obviously, Claude knows a lot about me now in my business.
Right.
And ChatGPT does as well. And I'm going to say, based on what you already know about my business, like, what are my top 3 priorities from these notes? And so I had some handwritten notes from certain sessions and some typed up. So I spent that. I didn't spend 6 hours on this, guys, but like I spent a little bit of time typing up the handwritten ones. And then I copied and pasted every single one of my notes, put it in there.
Because even an AI robot wouldn't be able to read your handwriting.
Oh, no. And I put it in there. And because I have been communicating about business plans and stuff, it was able to really clearly identify how certain things tied into what, goals I already had started working on and stuff, and put together a nice little 3-point outline. And it's like AI can help make things more efficient, but this is one of those times where it's like you come back from a conference, you're so bogged down in getting to the next, like, I got to catch up on the things that I missed while I was gone.
And I want to lose the stuff that I actually learned when I was there.
Yeah. And sometimes you never get back to those notes and really, like, you pull something out of it. You always do. You learn, you grow, but like you never really get to dig in there and figure out what you want to start on right that minute. It can take months before you finally get around to it. But this one little, delay before my flight, I was able to get it all nailed down really easily, simply, and already connected to what I was already doing instead of saying, ooh, I'm going to do this new shiny object thing. Yeah. It was pulling things that connected to my goals that I was already working on.
Right. Yeah. Right. No, that's great. That's great. And then mine is, I've been working for the last few weeks on this Questions from the Web new podcast or YouTube
series.
Yeah, it's a playlist. Yeah, I guess. So I'm real excited for that to come out on Monday, and I hope you guys like it. So go check it out.
Can I just say one more thing?
Yeah.
Like in the middle there, you were getting real feisty about me and my.
We can do this after the show.
Wait, no, I just wanted to say, like, it is so nice to have my little defender who always supports me and thinks I do no wrong. Because I know that you see how hard I work and everything. And so it's nice you're always defending me. But I just want to say this because I think we do never talk about our vision. It's really hard to get what's up here out on the page. And like, I know, so Patrick's an artist and stuff. So it's actually easier, I think, for you to get what's in your head out than most people. And so if you do have people on your team and you're building something and you're growing, it is important to talk to them about it like every single day. And I wasn't talking every single day. Like I would have meetings and yes, we were illustrating it, but like, you have to drill it in to their brains. And so it should be the through line of every single conversation of like, okay, so this is why we're doing this.
Right. No,
this is
I get
the big
that.
picture.
I do get that. It's a lot of times there's a blaming of yourself for things. And then repeatedly, it's like Lucy with the football. Like how many times does she have to pull it away and you miss it before you realize that it's not you, it's her pulling away the football.
Yeah.
I've
gotten better with that.
You have 100%. Hey guys, for episode extras like the candy bag, leave us a question from the web or explore all of Seeking the Best content. You can find it all at onseekingthebest.com. And for Kat and myself, thanks for listening, and we'll figure this all out next week.
Bye.
Fall down, get back up, keep on reaching, don't give up. Step by step, nothing less. This is how I seek the best.
This has been a Think, Live, Be production.